fault tolerance. You saw that Citrix actually did have that. If you've gone to their booth, you can talk to Marathon. That actually does support, as a third-party solution, fault tolerance solutions, very nice fault tolerance solutions for Citrix Zen Server. But there is nothing at this point for R2. And then memory page sharing, they don't have support for NFS for your storage subsystem underneath the hypervisor. Something that you expect possibly people would, a lot of people do like that. They use NFS in their environments. And then some paravirtualized drivers. And then of the other optionals, power management is not in there yet for automatic shutdown startup. They do have power management from the perspective of power scaling in the modern hardware, which is a feature of the fact that the main host partition is Windows Server 2008 for Hyper-V. It has that capability built into it to leverage that. And then licensing, they don't have these particular options available to you. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Chris to go into the deep dive comparison of these three side by side.
Okay, thanks, Richard. All right, I got about 17 minutes, so strap yourselves in. This is going to come fast and furious. I do want to leave a good 10 minutes or so for questions and answers. One thing I can tell you is I talk fast. I know you got a reference, so you got a slide deck to bring back to you. If you don't want to wait on the deck to be published, just send us an email, and we'll be happy to share that. That's not a problem. What we want to do is stack up, show you each of our featured categories by required preferred and optional, and show you how they stack up side by side. Because it's one thing for us just to say a vendor has a checkbox, but what's more important is exactly, specifically, what are some of the differences at a lower level? And that's what you can see here at this point in the presentation. Just in terms of a single point of failure, again, how my high availability logic is looking. Can I look through either the network layer, or could I actually leverage the storage infrastructure as well as part of my heartbeat logic? What you can see here as well is the difference with fan-out failover, which I think is an important distinguishing characteristic here. With VMware EC, I can do that based on CPU and memory, Citrix CPU, memory, and I/O. And basically what fan-out failover means is, if I have a physical host that fails, my virtual infrastructure is going to redistribute the VMs over all of the surviving nodes simultaneously. Solutions that can't do that do failover by logical node order, which means if I have 20 VMs on a host, if that host goes down, I'm going to try to start all 20 VMs on host number 2. Whatever VMs can't restart there, then they would fail over to host number 3. In the Hyper-V environment, notice that it requires a static preferred owner map for placement of each VM, which means that I have to pre-stage the preferred owner list for each VM, and I have to continue to update that map to support that distributed fashion failover. If that's not in place, then the failover will occur by logical node order, which is the default. You also want to look at the maximum number of nodes here that you can see here. Another interesting thing that you'll see, we have this in our reports on the hypervisors, is also the VMs that can be supported per node. For example, our Hyper-V R2 will support up to 32 server VMs or up to 64 desktop VMs per physical node. Again, you see NIC teaming by the hypervisor is pretty consistent with Microsoft following their standard, what they've always done in terms of NIC teaming. They don't support it through the OS, it's supported through third parties and third-party device drivers. Again, what I'm going to try to do here is hit on some of the important ones, so again, we can leave some time for Q&A. Again, there is some consistency here among storage, hot add. Another thing that we always tell clients to look at is backup support. I don't like to mix the words unsupported and backup in the same sentence. So if my backup vendor that I already have established in my enterprise infrastructure does not support the virtualization platform, that's usually a deciding criteria on whether or not to even go with that platform. I'm talking about backup tomorrow. I have a session for an hour on backup tomorrow, and I'll definitely talk more about some of the differences in that session. Again, directory service integration, sometimes when I talk to vendors, I'm almost embarrassed to ask them the question, because you think if you're an enterprise product, you're going to integrate with the directory service. Not always the case. Again, Citrix had Zen Server at a 5.0 release, and 5.0 did not integrate with Active Directory. 5.5 was when that was first added. Role-based access controls, again, there are some differences here. vCenter is certainly the most robust from VMware today. It's customizable roles in vCenter. through the vCenter Management Console. If I'm looking at Microsoft Hyper-V, I need to use ASMAN, Authorization Manager, and configure them that way. Again, you can see some differences here with security logging. Again, in the Citrix environment, I would need the Lab Manager interface for that. Virtual CPUs per physical CPU core. This refers to how far I can oversubscribe a CPU core, and that's what's supported by the vendor. In the case of VMware, I can do a 20-to-1 oversubscription. Citrix will support 32-to-1. So what that means is, I'm not going to overtax a CPU that far for a server workload by no means. Right? What that means is if I have a two-socket, 4-core system, I'd have 8 total cores. So multiplying that by 20, that means in a VMware environment, I can support up to 160 virtual CPUs. I have to think about that for a minute. Not a math major, not a computer science major, guys, so I'm a little slow on the math. I majored in IT, all right? I did it specifically because of the math requirements of computer science. Not embarrassed about that, it's just a fact. Anyway, Microsoft Hyper-V is 8. Where the scalability really comes in, not so much on the server side, because even an 8-to-1 oversubscription is quite a lot. But if I'm on the desktop side, it can become pretty important. If you're looking at like Project Virtual Reality Check, for example, and the benchmarking they've done, you see oversubscription 11-to-1 and higher on the virtual CPU to physical core count. And again, in the virtual desktop workloads, that's where that oversubscription number is that much more important. Again, virtual CPUs per VM, you see the difference here, 8, 4 with Hyper-V, that's on Windows 2008 and Windows 7, as Richard mentioned. I can do 2 for Windows 2003 and 1 for all other operating systems. Okay, just wrapping up the required features again. Management console. Again, I have a Windows-based client, XenCenter, SEDMM GUI for Hyper-V. So again, we have satisfaction on all of those. Same thing with utilization and event monitoring in terms of Snmp integration. The management integration is there between most vendors and most major vendors across all 3 of these. And again, the depth of the integration usually differs with each platform. Like you saw today, HP with System Insight Manager is now integrating with vCenter and vSphere 4 as an example. So that's a very rich integration. Some of the integration and compatibility might just be driven by SNMP. You also see other platforms like OpenView, for example, that are supporting both Hyper-V, vSphere, and XenCenter environments. So again, it often depends also on the management platform. Richard already covered support. You can see the breakdown side by side here. Just moving into preferred features. One difference here that you see where Microsoft trumps the others is with Guest OS and application failure detection. If I'm going with their top tier SKU, which also gives me Operations Manager, I can do some high availability orchestration based on application state. And there's not pre-packaged templates for you to do this. The architecture is there to support that via Ops Manager. Partial physical node failure detection, Richard already talked about that. None of them are doing that right now. Again, that could disrupt service levels based on failure of the physical port and things like that. Again, talk about extended migration for cross-platform support. Simultaneous live migration, sometimes that gets discounted. To me, that's important because this can have a direct impact on scheduled maintenance. If I have 30 VMs on a physical box, if I'm doing 1 live migration at a time compared to 2 at a time, it's going to take longer. Again, resources is going to drive that. It falls into the it depends category. Still an important thing. Memory overcommit, as Richard mentioned, to us, that's required for virtual desktop workloads. Your density is not going to be very good without it. And it's just the bottom line. Vendors know that. That's why we still have a lot of customers that have deployed Xen Desktop, but in many cases, ESX is still the back-end infrastructure for the Xen Desktop environment. Citrix knows that's an important feature. They get that same feedback from their clients. On the networking side, promiscuous monitoring, you see VMware and Citrix have the checkbox. When you have vendors out on the Solutions Exchange and they're showing these great slides, how they can do all of this fantastic security monitoring and enforcement for VMware, Citrix, and Hyper-V environments, call them out on promiscuous monitoring. Say, ask them, how are you doing network inspection and enforcement in Hyper-V if the Hyper-V virtual switch does not support promiscuous monitoring? And then you'll get the, oh, well, really we don't do that for Hyper-V. Which is going to lead you to the next question. For all of the features that you're showing here, specifically, what can you do for each hypervisor? And you're going to see that it's not consistent across all of them. And I gotta tip my hat to for very creative product marketing guys to be able to generate awards, based on some good slides. But call out the vendors on this, because this is an issue. Microsoft knows this is something that they're working on. It will get into the hypervisor, but it's not there yet. And it means from a security monitoring and enforcement perspective, I can't really do network-based security in the virtual infrastructure. I have to do host-based.